So I'm kind of just going off the dome for this video because I'm kind of lazy and I don't really want to write and I want to do some other things today. But I hate to be that guy that hops on the bandwagon, but I kind of figured I'd make a video about this anyways, even though there are like billions of videos about how the dating life is messed up. And I can't, I don't know, I just don't think you can really blame people for most of it. I think we have a system that's like purposely dividing us, and I think people don't really talk about that. I think they're so in their own bubble about the dating world that they think it's the other gender's fault or whatever it is. And I personally don't believe that. I find it hard to blame women for all of this or to blame men for all of this, just because I personally believe the system is trying to divide people as much as it possibly can, because people who are divided are a lot more controllable. But I'm kind of just going to talk about more of the dating scene and kind of how it connects with everything like that. And I understand everyone is just kind of sick and tired of the dating scene. I was in the dating scene for quite a bit. I don't know. I think well, how long was I single for? Probably like 5 years. And personally, I have never been someone who's just been like, oh, I need to be in a relationship and I need to seek it out. I've never been that person. Even when I was in middle school or high school or whatever it is, it kind of just happened. Every time I got into a relationship, it kind of just happened. Someone was into me and I was like, oh, let me kind of, put some effort towards this. And that's kind of how it always has been. I've been in a relationship for more than a year now, and this is my longest relationship I've ever had. And just to give you a frame of reference, I am 27 years old. I believe most people aren't really ready for relationships, but most of the time you're never really ready for anything until you've actually experienced it. So for most people, you are probably not ready for a relationship until you've been in one. And I've tried to work on things just like most of the time, just because with a relationship, there are a lot of blind spots that are pointed out, because when you live in your own world and stuff like that, there are a lot of blind spots that you don't recognize for your own self until you start hanging around people and being into a relationship and being around someone more than you realize. And of course, you just want to try and work things out with someone you love. And personally, I do kind of find it quite exhausting. It is an ongoing battle, and a relationship is never really 50-50. It kind of switches. Sometimes it's like 80-20, 60-40 or stuff like that, and I feel like people think that it's like 50-50. And with how expensive the world is, it is very hard to go 50-50 with a lot of things, and a lot of people don't want to make the sacrifice, even though relationships require a lot of time and obligation. I personally find being in a relationship much more difficult than being alone. I've never had a problem with being alone. I'm someone who really values a lot of my freedom. And to be honest, I'm low-key a selfish person. I've always kind of been that way. I've really liked my money. I don't like giving a lot of things to people. Unless I'm close to them, then I will consider it. But it's something I don't, necessarily go out of my way to do. Like, I don't know, maybe I just have a lot of walls up because there was a period in my time where I definitely felt loneliness for a long time, and it's something I'd never want to experience again. And I understand where people are coming from, because that loneliness, it really hurts. It really does. I totally understand where people are coming from. And I definitely got out of it because I kind of realized that being in this thought bubble of like experiencing the same thing over and over again is just so exhausting, and I just wanted a way out, and that's exactly what I did. And I don't really know how to do it for most people, or like give the advice that people can take, but I figured it out for myself, and that's probably what you're going to have to do. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? It's hard to keep myself on track because I didn't really write too much for this. Another thing is, I really like to work. I like working on things that I'm very passionate about, and the moment people start to get in the way of that, it really annoys me, because they take up my time, and I'm just like, wow, I would rather be working. But in reality, it's probably a good time to take a break and, focus on health, social matters, and stuff like that. And you can't always be working on your purpose, because there's more to life than work that is your purpose. Purpose is more of like I don't know, maybe like a sphere or like a circle of like growth, I guess you could say. You can only work so much for money and, working on your purpose, because a lot of people in the red pill community are always talking about purpose for some reason. That's like the only thing they care about. But they don't realize that cutting off a bunch of friends and cutting off like dating life or like trying out new experiences is kind of not the way to go. And I understand that you want to be great or whatever, and you're doing this for your own selfish reasons and your ego, which is kind of, I think, not the reason why you should do things. And that's something I've definitely been learning, because I know my ego was, it was definitely getting in the way of certain things, because I know I'm an incredibly stubborn person. And I don't want to say that I'm that kind of person who's like, oh, it's either my way or the highway kind of person. But sometimes I think I am, just because I'm so stubborn. And I just love doing things my way, because I don't know what it is, but asking for help isn't something I've always done unless I really needed it. But most of the time when I do need help, I'll just go to YouTube or like Reddit and just kind of get like some kind of insight. Or like if I need to figure out certain things, I've kind of just always taught myself, whether it was like learning like FL Studio or like picking up guitar. And I don't know, I think it might just be an ego thing for me. I don't really know what it is. Something like acts of service has never really been one of my love languages. And I think it is, or the reason for that is because, I don't know, when people help me out, they just do it in a way that I don't like it. So I just ended up having to fix it, and it just takes more time. So I'd rather just do things my own way. And I'm very particular, and I've always been particular, and my mom has always told me that. And I just think I like doing things my way. So acts of service has never really been one of my love languages, just because it takes more time of what I actually really want to do. And another thing is, I'm someone who is really passionate about what I'm working on, and I enjoy working on whatever it is I want to do in my life, whether it's this channel or my other creative hobbies and stuff like that, because I know in the long run that's actually what I really want to do. And I don't know, when it comes to a relationship, it takes a lot of obligations, it takes up a lot of time, and of course there are always going to be people who are more compatible with you than others. And I've also just I've never had a problem really being alone for long periods of time. That's honestly, it's kind of interesting now, because as I've been getting older, that's been slowly changing. Of course, I still love being alone, and I still claim that I'm an introvert, but I still want to be around people and have like a good community around me. And I like talking about whatever it is, whether it's like deep talks or even just small talk. People like to complain about small talk all the time, but sometimes it is necessary to get into like deeper topics that aren't small talk. And that's just kind of how it is. But people need to suck it up and just be like, oh, I can't do small talk anymore. And I'm like, dude, get over yourself. Just talk about the weather. I don't really care, dude. I mean, if you just pretend to listen at least, like, I don't really know, dude. Just people complain about everything in this world, and it's kind of exhausting. And I understand that people go on social media and complain about the dating market, but it's like sometimes they're the problem too. And I mean, of course there are people who have to like go to therapy and stuff like that, and there's always situationships and stuff like that. But I still believe that the system is trying to manipulate people and dividing them as much as we possibly can. And I don't think people are starting to realize that, or like taking a better view or like a third person point of view of when it comes to these things. And I don't know, as someone who likes being alone and think about stuff like all the time, because it's like all I do. I mean, I would love to get more into reading, but reading has never been my strong suit. But I don't know, when I was alone, I just was like, I never was like, oh, I can't wait to start a family. And there are a lot of people who do want to have a family, but I've never been like that person that's just like, oh, I really want to have kids. And I have a nephew, and my nephew's actually really chill, and he does make me, like, my brother and his wife make me think about having a family. And maybe like down the road I might think about it more, considering I'm still pretty young. I'm 27, and I mean, my mom didn't have me until she was 36, 37. So it is still definitely doable. And everyone's always like, well, once women pass the age of 30, they're basically like, what do they call them? I don't know, like old hags and stuff. And I'm just like, dude, no one, just stop. That's not helping literally the dating market at all. If you're just pulling out a bunch of stuff out your ass, I'm just like, I don't know. Same with women too. Women aren't, they're not innocent either. And I understand, because once you're in love and like your feelings start to like, think for you, it's very hard. I totally understand, but people need to stop doing that, because it's not helping the dating scene whatsoever if everyone's just attacking each other all the time and mudslinging. And as someone who has been growing quite a bit as the past couple of years, I really enjoy the community that I'm in, whether it's the art community, the music community, or whatever it is. It really itches those social needs for me. And I don't know. I don't know if people make dating as hard as they make it out to be, or they're just complaining on the internet because it's just everywhere. And honestly, in my opinion, dating is a numbers game. And I don't know. There's a lot of people just complaining on the internet all the time, and that's what sells, and that's what gets likes and comments and reshares or whatever it is that people really want. And people live in their own echo chamber, and then they just become accustomed to these ideologies, whether it's like the black pill or the red pill community, especially men on YouTube. And I definitely went down that rabbit hole at one point because I was just lonely, and I was like, "Oh, what's my sense of purpose?" And self help doesn't really make sense to me because if you're getting help from someone else, then that's not necessarily self help, now is it? That's just that's just help. um, so I don't know. I think people really need to take a step back from the dating scene and just kind of take a breather and just kind of understand for themselves. And it is a point where you can work on yourself, but like if you're just so motivated by the gym or like money, then actually talking to people and like getting into a community and like learning how to like be self-aware about certain things, then you're probably not going to be in a relationship. So, or maybe you're just not ready for one. I mean, it always kind of depends on what you really want out of life, but just take it with a grain of salt, and people take it a little bit too seriously. I don't know, but once I moved out of that red pill and black pill community, I kind of realized it just wasn't really doing me any good, and I realized that I didn't really want to live that kind of lifestyle. It just was not for me. And I thought living in this echo chamber for the rest of my life is not going to do me any good. So I decided to learn to think for myself and read some books on my own and kind of just experience life because that's all you can do. But, anyways, guys, I kind of just want to talk about this topic. It might have been a little bit all over the place just because it's more off the dome. But I will see you guys in the next one. We are definitely catching the Reggies as we speak. I just caught Reg Ice, or whatever we want to call him. And I think we're going to do like a Reggie Steele this video, but I'm not sure. But anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll chat with you guys later. Peace.